Today I want to discuss psychotherapy and astrology, the relationship between the two, and how one can help the other.
Yeah, does psychology itself have a tradition in India?
Psychology as such, I'm not aware of any special branch that the tradition has in India to study psychology, intertwined with spirituality. So other than that, in Buddhism, yes, in Buddhism is a study of the mind, meditation. Buddhism more aligns with psychology rather than Hinduism, right?
I see.
But when you talk about psychology with modern traditions, I have read quite a bit of Carl Jung, the Swiss psychologist.
Can you say the name again? Sorry.
It is Carl Jung.
Oh, Carl Jung, yes.
Yeah, Carl Jung. I have been very much impressed by his writings, right? See, the personalities that influenced me a lot in my life is when I was going to school, it was Albert Einstein, right?
Yeah.
I was exposed to modern physics in my school, and I came to know that he derived that formula E is equal to mc square,
Right.
I was really thrilled. I like how he could come up with that, right? Energy is something, mass is something, c is the velocity of light, and that is something else totally. So yeah. I was really mystified by that. That's when I started loving science, and I did read a lot of books on quantum mechanics and all that. I mean, I don't want to go into a detail into that. I have my own experiences with that, which we can have another video for that. But Albert Einstein impressed me a lot with his special theory of relativity and general theory of relativity and all that. I read quite a few books on that. And after that, the person who impressed me was Jiddu Krishnamurti when I came to US. I read a couple of books about Jiddu in India, but I did not go deep into that. There was a factor, there was a destabilizing factor in his books, which I did not like when I was in India. I was very ambitious there. I wanted to come to US and I wanted to do a few things, but I didn't want to go through those books. When I read a couple of them, I found them to be very destabilizing, right? So I did not go deeper into that. That is the second person I was very much influenced by. The third person I'm influenced by was Carl Jung. I read him like in 2016. I think I was in between projects. I read a few books by Carl Jung. I was really impressed. After reading Jiddu Krishnamurti, I was not a lot of books could impress after reading Jiddu Krishnamurti, because Jiddu Krishnamurti is very, very original in his writings. When you read his writings, you cannot relate it to something else, right? There is no bibliography in his books. It just comes out of some other planet. It feels like his thoughts come out of some other planet, right? That's the feeling.
It's kind of an unfolding.
Yes, you cannot relate his writings to anything else. It just comes from some source, some original source, right? Something you feel like that. Maybe others may not feel like that, but I'm just explaining my subjective feeling here. And then I was not impressed with books. Rarely I'm impressed with books after Jiddu Krishnamurti. That may be a good thing or a bad thing, I don't know. And then I got impressed by, after Jiddu Krishnamurti, I took to goddess worship, right? I was worshipping a goddess. And then I came across Carl Jung. He's one of the, after Sigmund Freud, Carl Jung is one of the most well-known psychologist in the Western world, I think, who explored psychology, right? And I was very much impressed by his. He was into that. What do you call?
Past lives?
No. He was into that concept called. I'm not remembering it. Archetypes.
Archetypes, yeah.
That was his core concept. The human subconscious is made up of archetypes, right? And whatever people relate to in the external world, it is based on this, right? Based on these archetypes. All their interactions with the outside world, they just arise out of these archetypes that is part of our psychological structure over millions of years of evolution, right? So that's what he explores, and he thinks that these interactions with this archetype, dreams will give some clues about these archetypes, right? And these archetypes, one of his brilliant discoveries is these archetypes go far, far beyond your region, your culture, your country. They're much more deeper. Means a person living in the US and a person living in India may have the same dream, right? Because it is related to an archetype which is at a much deeper level in the psyche, right?
Right.
So based on those dreams, and he was able to relate them to archetypes, and he was able to give some solutions to the clients. I mean, like, I don't claim to understand Carl Jung completely. From the books that I read, I get this sense that he found something, a deeper truth he found something common in all humans, and based on which they act, right? These archetypes, and one of the primary archetype in this is the mother archetype. Okay, there are other archetypes, but the major one is the mother archetype. And all humans have this archetype embedded deeply into their subconscious structure, and this archetype is expressed in the form of mythology, in the form of culture, in the form of different things that they do. The human beings have been trying to give expression to this archetype. So that's what he exposed, right? And I was impressed with Carl Jung, but I did not get a chance to study other psychologists. I even wanted to pursue psychology in an academic way, but I could not do that. I mean, like, given my job stress, because I wanted to do counseling at some point of time, but one of my friends is trying that, is doing that in fact, but I could not. I don't have that kind of patience to take myself away for 2 years, go to school and study, and all that I cannot. So
it's quite a dedication, yeah.
So you have anything around this? What do you think about this archetypes?
Well, I'm interested. Do you think he was influenced, Carl Jung, by Vedic philosophy? Seems a lot of similarities.
Yes and no, because I studied. I saw that he did go to India. He did find a connection between his concepts and something what Indians do. Okay. Mainly is archetype around the mother, right? This is respected in India. Indians are taking advantage of this primal archetype, basic archetype, in the sense that Indians have a lot of goddesses, mother goddesses, in their culture, where intense spiritual traditions are there around these goddesses, right? So what Indians basically did was they had this understanding of the primal archetype within the human beings, which is the archetype, this feminine archetype or the mother archetype. That is the most primal archetype of human beings, as exposed by Carl Jung, and Indians were aware of that. I think that's why they gave primacy, spiritual primacy to the goddess worship. Goddess was always kept at a much higher pedestal than male divinities in the Indian culture, right? And Calcutta, where he went to Calcutta, I think that's where a lot of goddess worship is being practiced, and probably might have been curious about that. And Indians have been able to take a lot of advantage of this primal archetype by creating these goddess structures. It's not one goddess. We have a whole string of goddesses in our culture which people worship, and my own goddess worship made a lot of sense after reading Carl Jung, right? That basically we are honoring that feminine archetype that is within all of us, all of mankind.
Yeah, and so for Carl Jung, it was also something transcendent as well as immanent.
He says he had a lot of dreams and all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
He was luminous. He was having dreams, but setting aside all that paranormal stuff, these archetypes, right? I see there is some reality to that. For example, you have this concept of deluge, right? The flood stories, that there was a flood on the earth, right? This story is there in all cultures. It is not just in Greek culture, but it is there in all cultures. This mother archetype also is like the worship of the mother goddess is also there in Greek culture. But at some point of time, they did not. It fell into disrepute, I think, in the Western culture, where they started to maybe associate female goddesses to witches or something like that. Something it got degenerated. But in the East, it remained in its original purity, the goddess worship. It's all I'm trying to say is these archetypes is something that is, he hit upon something that is true to all human beings. That's where his genius lies. So coming to astrology, right? The discussion becomes much simpler because, see, when you discuss about the relationship between astrology and psychotherapy and how astrology can help psychotherapy, right? Basically, you can take a simple example like people go to a therapist for what? I mean, like, if you take an example, let us say depression, right? Let us take two mental ailments that are common. You take depression or you take anxiety. A lot of people suffer from these things. People either go to a psychotherapist. You go to a psychotherapist and you tell him, I'm depressed. So what happens next? I'm asking you a question.
Well, depending on your therapist, they can prescribe you some kind of cognitive behavioral therapy and or medication. But yeah, if that comes before the diagnosis, that's more often than not the case.
Yeah, I mean, like, he will ask you a lot of questions, right? About your job, about your relationships, and how you are doing, and what is that triggers you, and what are your passions. He will try to ask you so many things so that you will try to find like you will try to find like what flicks you and takes you out. I don't think he will give you pills in the very very first appointment, right? He'll ask a lot
Hopefully.
of questions and he will this and that. And then you go after 1 week, you go again, or else after 1 month you go again. And then after 2-3 weeks you'll go again. Then what happens? When all this cognitive therapy, what do you call as cognitive therapy, right? It doesn't work, then what do you do?
Yeah, then they might think about a medication. It depends on, they'd have to assess the degree to which your life is not, experiencing some kind of dysfunction based on it, and try to correct that dysfunction.
Yes. You will think all the time that he is doing everything rationally, right? He will ask all the questions. Then when he finally, like, he will start using his weapons, right? He will prescribe some medication for you. Okay, you tried it. Maybe you will start with low doses to begin with.
Right.
You will tell, okay, you take this and you should start feeling better in a week or two, right? And you see me after 2 weeks or 3 weeks or whatever. So basically, what you call this as, what happens is, what is happening is, there is intervention, right? There is intervention. He's trying to intervene with your psychological process by giving you external medication, right? So that's what happens. I mean, like, he will give you medication, and then it starts to, and the patient, his psychological structure changes based on that, and there is also some dependency that develops with that, right?
Right.
So does it tell like when this is going to end, or like he has to take the medication forever? How does that go after that?
Well, a lot of people I know who have went on medication for depression got a little bit more depressed. I mean, or that it wore off. It got to a point where they felt they weren't themselves anymore, even though they weren't as depressed. And that to them became more of a psychological burden than the depression. So they went off the medication. But I think everyone's different. There might be someone who absolutely need it because they're physiologically, their brain might not be producing enough serotonin or something.
Exactly.
Of course. So
I do understand that it is a real problem where there is a chemical imbalance in the brain, which the psychologist will try to correct, right? Psychotherapist, I mean to say. But here, before they even do that, let us say the psychotherapist knows astrology too. Okay, and if the patient is willing to try that, what happens is, now coming to astrology, what happens is depression is generally caused by a badly placed moon, or when moon is under the influence of Saturn or Ketu, which is the south node of the moon. The depression will start, right? Exactly when Saturn is passing over the moon, a person will feel depressed. Or when a Saturn phase is going on, and the subphase is Ketu, south node, a combination of Saturn and Ketu, depression is a must. 90% people will be depressed under Saturn Ketu, or Ketu Saturn, either way. Saturn phase, Ketu subphase, or Ketu phase, Saturn subphase, either one of these things makes a man depressed. 90%. Are you getting my point?
Okay.
So if, let us say, a person is going to the Saturn main phase and Ketu subphase. Ketu subphase in a Saturn main phase lasts for more than a year, maybe like 16 months, maybe, probably, right?
Okay.
Those 16 months he will be depressed totally, right? And soon after Ketu subphase, the Venus phase will start. Okay. And in the Venus phase, Venus is a planet of luxury, comforts, material gains. A person just snaps out of depression.
Moves it over.
In the Venus phase, provided Venus is not located in a bad house, which is the probability of him located in a bad house is less. Okay. And once the Venus phase starts, you are going in a bus or a train, you meet a girl, right? You fell in love with that girl. And how can you be depressed during that time?
Right.
What?
So Venus kind of just changes the circumstances.
Venus will make you fall into love with a girl, right? Or Venus will bring you a new car, new house, new job. And with all these things around, how you will be depressed? And now my point is, a patient has come to me. He might not even be, he might be like already, he might have gone through 1 year of Ketu Dasha. Only when it gets severe, you will go to your doctor, right?
Right.
Only when you lost your job, when you lost your car, when your girlfriend is not talking to you anymore, you will depressed. You will get depressed. And then you will go to the therapist as a solution. So, you will start developing some self-doubt at that point of time. Self-doubt will start. And your friend will come, okay, this shrink is good, go and see that shrink, right? You will go to that shrink. The shrink will look at you, and then you are already completed 1 year of Ketu subphase. You are only left with another 3 months where Venus is going to start. Things are going to change. Neither you know about it, nor the therapist know about it. Both of you have no clue what is going on, right? And you go and sit there, he will give some medication. You became dependent on that medication, and you keep taking medication even during the Venus phase also, right? But if I'm a psychotherapist and I know the astrological influences that are acting upon you, and if I know that you are only 3 months away from getting better, I will not give you any pills. I will tell you, Baba, you are going to get better in 3 months. Just cool off. Take the life the way it comes, right?
Right.
When the winter comes, you take it. When the summer comes, you take it, right? Why you are not able to take this? Why you are expecting that your life should be on cloud 9 all the time?
Right.
The problem is people are not able to accept some natural processes of nature. They are running for solutions very quickly, right?
Right. It's the short-term fix.
Ketu came for a reason in your life. He wants you to slow you down. He wants you to look inside, look into yourself. He doesn't want you to look outside for solutions. He wants you to peep into your own heart, look into your own thought processes, look into your own things, basically slow down in your life. He wants you to slow down. Ketu has its reason for coming. Every natural process has a reason for its existence, right? So just like the seasons come and go, these things come. I'm not saying that you should not go to a doctor and take medication. I'm not saying that. All I'm saying is, if it is a natural process, work with it and don't spoil your system. Don't put chemicals into your brain, body, and then create some kind of imbalance.
Right.
Basically, we're creating some imbalance which doesn't get fixed later. The planetary energies act rationally on somebody only when he is sane. An insane person, nothing acts properly in an insane person, right?
Right.
Even for the planetary energies to work constructively in your system has to be sane in the first place.
So the medications could, block the subtle energies.
Exactly. Medically, it is just disturbing your natural balance of your system. And neither patient has a clue, nor the therapist has a clue. What happens, the therapist also doesn't give any hope to you. He simply says, keep taking these pills till you get better, and after you stop it, right? But if he is away, if his distress is going away in 6 months, why not stay with it and face it naturally rather than going for this medications which are like very harmful in the long run, right? They are quite harmful. And especially if you are drinking, smoking, and if you're using any other psychotropic substances, these things in combination with these pills can be very harmful. And you cannot overdose it. It is really dangerous. So astrology can provide a great solution for people with this health complications. And even nowadays they go and take a brain scan. Brain scan can show that you are depressed, but it doesn't tell when it is going to get over, right?
Right.
Science can only do science. See, every discipline has its own approach and its own limitations at the same time. We have to appreciate that. I'm not saying a brain scan is not helpful. It is helpful. It gives you a clear proof that somebody is depressed, right? Pills are helpful. When he goes into Venus phase and still he is not able to recover, or he doesn't have astrology to his support, or his birth time is not known, how we will predict what will happen next month? The astrology cannot help him. In those cases, pills are okay. But simply taking pills for every ailment just like that is kind of, psychotherapy. I think without taking this planetary energies and its impact into consideration, psychotherapy is like, I don't know if it is really helpful to people.
Yeah, it doesn't help when there's such a wide disagreement among psychologists, psychotherapists about the mode of treatment. For instance, like you're saying, a medication that's synthetic, that acts kind of like as a replacement for the body's processes, as opposed to encouraging, the natural processes. So it was like a natural medication like lithium. That's probably one of the most commonly prescribed because it really actually helps the body and thereby helps the mind. I think I read this interesting statistic, something like 80-something% of all psychiatric patients that have to be admitted to the hospital are deficient in 5 or more B vitamins. So that means there's a lot of people are getting pushed over the edge because of an underlying physical condition. And they're going to look for a physical solution. But the chances of being the right one based on that psychologist are small.
Yeah, and also like there is so much of prevalence of smoking, drinking, and psychotropic substances. These substances, when people using these substances come under the influence of astrological planetary influences, immediately it will trigger depression and anxiety tendencies. You're getting my point, right?
Yeah.
So that's where the problem comes. These people are already using substances, and when these planetary energies are triggered, a person who gets depressed will get depressed more. He will go more into depression. A person who is prone to anxiety will get much more deeper attacks of anxiety. Right? These things happen.
Yeah.
And that therapist and pills are not the solution for that, because it will aggravate the situation, because it's not helping for them to work with the natural forces of nature. But unfortunately, astrology is not a formal science, so they cannot use it, and people are getting affected because of all this. I think so. People's brains are getting damaged because they don't know what is going on. They don't know when they will get better, and the only solution is they start taking pills. Once they start taking pills, it will create some kind of dependency, and to wean oneself away from those pills also is very difficult. It's not an easy process.
Yeah, the withdrawal symptoms are sometimes worse than the previous symptom you're trying to escape.
And let me take another example. We talked about depression. We talk about anxiety now. Anxiety comes when Mars and Ketu come together. When Mars energy becomes very intense in your horoscope, it creates anxiety, right?
Okay.
And soon after that phase, the anxiety goes down. But people immediately start taking pills, right? And then it will again disturb the psychological balance there. So I think a lot of people are under therapy, psychotherapy and everything. Psychotherapy and psychotherapists, if they start using astrology in their science, it will help them a lot. But of course, I mean, like, it will reduce their business because people, if they get better naturally, like, why they need a psychotherapist? Tell me.
Yeah, right.
People,
I mean,
if I am there, if I think that, okay, I am depressed right now, June, July, August, September. After September, if I feel that I'll get better, why I will go and pop all kinds of dangerous pills into my system, meet a therapist, pay him $250 an hour? Why I will do all that, right? So,
yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, like, somebody who is a psychotherapist, if he knows, if he understands, if he learns astrology, and if the patient also is open to try alternative methods, then I think they should go ahead and use it. Right?
Right. Is it possible to use Vedic astrology to know what type of therapy would be more beneficial? Say someone's convinced they need therapy, but they have the choice between a natural medication, synthetic medication, or no medication.
Definitely. There is an entire system devoted to medical astrology in India, right?
Wow.
I may not be totally knowledgeable about that, but definitely I am aware that there is an entire discipline dedicated to medical astrology, which clearly, but what I took as two general common examples. I think 50% of the people go to psychotherapists because one of these problems. Either they are depressed or they are anxiety, right?
Right.
These two problems I know clearly. Depression comes because of Saturn's influence on the moon. When Saturn and Ketu come together, anxiety comes when Mars and Ketu come together. When these things are located in a bad house in their chart, and they interact with each other, immediately they will trigger these energies. So once this phase is over, they get better. Those energies will go away. That whole tendencies will go away. But then when you start going to a therapist, start taking pills, you are buying into that dependency. And once your natural balance is destroyed there, you are dependent forever, right?
Yeah, because you've lost your ground.
You lost that natural. You came out of that natural cycle, right? And you started taking pills, and then you are depending on pills. And then for the pills, you have to go to the doctor. You cannot simply go. You cannot simply go into the pharmacy and bill and buy psychotherapy related pills, right? Depression and anxiety and all that. No, you have to go to a therapist. First of all, you are depending on the pills, and then you are depending on the therapist, and then it costs a bunch of load of money.
Yeah.
And then you cannot drink alcohol. You cannot do this. You cannot do that, and you cannot overdose. So what is all this?
It's a machine.
It's very hard. I mean, like, I think one of my friends practices psychotherapy. He's trying to go to the root of their problem and clear them. That's also hard. People don't want to look at root issues. They want a quick fix. They generally want a quick fix. They just don't want to look deeply deeply into themselves and learn something. See, nobody wants to do the hard work. Have you found out that? It's kind of strange. Nobody wants to.
Yeah. I mean, that might be, why psychology became so popular, especially industrial psychology, because you have a lot of people becoming unhappy with their jobs, and that's bad for workplace performance. So they kind of needed a quick fix for all these companies and so many unhappy employees.
Yeah, you are unhappy with the job. Job 50%. See, job is done basically for a paycheck. Who wants to go and attend a meeting at 7:30 in the morning, right? The manager wants to call a meeting and then she says 7:30 and we have to be there at 7:30, right? So who wants to do all that? It's for a paycheck. And 50% of the jobs, they are done because people develop some responsibilities and they have to pay the bills. They have some responsibilities. Whether the job is interesting or not, still you have to do it, right? So automatically it creates some therapy, psychology problem. Or the woman you are living with, you lose interest, but you still have to live with her, but then that creates some problem. Whatever may be the problem, it all boils down to psychology and you go to therapist. But what solution therapist has? Nothing. Yes, some pills, which will make you dependent, right? He doesn't give you any hope. He doesn't say like when you will do something creative or when your life will change. Nothing he will be able to tell. Sometimes it is hard in astrology too, because if you are running through a bad phase for a long time, what solution you can tell him? I mean, like, it is going to be hard. There are some remedies. There are some remedies in astrology we can try, but a lot of times they're just going through a small bad phase, which is 1 year or less than a year, and they end up taking a divorce, or they end up going to a psychotherapist and take all kinds of pills. They do something crazy because they cannot put up with a negative feeling for 1 month. It is impossible nowadays. What do you say?
Yeah, right. Without knowing that you are kind of stuck in a phase, you're going to be more desperate, take more desperate measures to escape it. But yeah, if you know it's passing, then you can brace yourself. Like you said, look
See,
for.
if I say, like, if you start feeling bad, and if you start getting the low moods, and you don't have any hope, within 1 month you go to a therapist and you do whatever is required to fix it, right? But if somebody comes and says, okay, things are going to change in September, you don't do that. You just kill those 2 months, right?
Right.
So even if you go to a therapist, you just talk with him and you just explore options, what makes you happy, this and that. I have nothing against cognitive therapy where they just verbally they just try to remove your mental blocks so that you can lead a fuller life. But when it comes to pills, it's kind of damaging the brain, right?
Right.
I don't think, even cognitive therapy, as well as that they have this scanning and all that they do, I heard nowadays. But even that doesn't help. That doesn't tell a patient when he is going to get better. That only tells a patient that he is in fact sick.
Yeah, that's quite a big difference. And it almost seems you'd need both hand in hand to help someone.
You need to tell the patient when things are going to get better naturally, right? Or when he can take desperate measures. When life is in favor of you, when energies are flowing in favor, then it is easy to do remedies also. You are getting my point, right?
Yeah.
When things are in your favor, things become easy. Whatever you do, you get better very fast. But when negative energies are flowing and you are trying all kinds of desperate measures, going from one therapist to another therapist, popping one pill after another, doing blah blah blah, this and that, That's all. I don't think that will help.
Right.
So psychology, I mean, like astrology can help psychotherapists in a tremendous way. Wherever the patients are open to explore this, they have to use this science and make their life easy, because Ketu Dasha, which is 7 years in astrology, will create a lot of problems, will take away everything from a person during Ketu Dasha, right? After 5 years, he will become depressed. 5 years into Ketu Dasha, a person is either sitting in a church or in a temple, right? Because he has lost everything. He has lost his wife, he has lost his job, he has lost his property. Ketu will take away everything, right? And he has lost everything basically. And he has, God also has not helped him. And after 5 years, he ends up in a temple or in a church, depending upon your religious belief, right? So, or with a therapist, and he starts taking all kinds of pills. But if someone knows astrology, he will tell him, Jesus, you just wait for 1 year, Venus Dasha will start, everything will change. Right?
Yeah.
I just want to conclude this with one personal example. I was not doing well at school, right? I was going through Saturn Ketu. I was very depressed.
Did you know it?
What?
Did you know it at the time?
No, I was very depressed in school because I was going through Saturn Ketu phase. I was not aware of astrology that much then. I was not aware of astrology. My mom took me to an astrologer, right? My mom took me to an astrologer, and she said, there was one priest in a temple. I told you that the priests know the astrology in India. So this guy was doing well. Suddenly, he is not doing well in school, right? Just can you check his chart, right? And he looks at that. Under Saturn, Ketu will be there for 1 year, right? I already finished like 6 months or something like that. There was another 6-7 months left of Ketu Dasha. He said he will be okay from July. Just go, right? We went in January, right? We went in January, and she told the priest, this guy is behaving weird, right? He is not doing well. Just can you check his chart? He looks at the chart like this for 10 minutes. In 10 minutes, he will tell, okay, you'll be fine from July. Venus is getting in, and you'll be fine from July. You'll be fine like that. No medicine, nothing. Simply just he told my mom, and my mom trust him, right? So he told, okay, that's fine. Just take care of yourself. You'll be okay in 5-6 months, right? What happens? What happens in the Western setting? The same thing happens. What happens here?
It's a little more fast-paced and forceful.
It is forceful, and they will take him to a therapist, or like they do something like that, right? So it was so easy in India, like it just the issue was like closed within 2-3 days.
Yeah.
She just sent a chart. She's just, whenever you are born, they will take a chart in India, right? They will note your birth time. She sent my chart to the priest. The priest sent a note after 2 days that he will be okay by July, right? That's it. Gone.
Yeah. So it relieved your anxiety, and
no
before
doctor, no psychotherapist, nobody. Just the problem is gone, just like that. And it worked. After Venus got into that, I was able to get my degree. I was able to land a job. I was in a love affair, right?
Yes, everything aligns.
The whole life was different. And I was, during that period, I was like totally dissatisfied with life. I was questioning what I need to do by completing this degree. I was depressed. I was questioning everything. I was reading some books written in Russia, right? Some Russian literature I was reading.
Yeah.
And then my parents were worried. Why this guy is reading Russian literature all the time and is depressed? He doesn't go to school, right?
It's a theme, yeah.
They were like, it was a weird behavior, right? They were worried, and they kept to an astrologer, and astrologer was like, he just closed it within 20 minutes. He just closed it like that. And he said, just, you'll be okay by July. He's going through some Ketu Dasha, right? You'll be fine by July. That's it. So that is the power of astrology. I mean,
that's amazing.
Whether you use it, you don't use it, that's left to you. But so is there anything else we can discuss under this, or like, is this a lot already?
Yeah, it is. We can save follow-up questions.
I think, like, finally, to conclude, there's some psychotherapists, they should start working with the astrologers. They should start working with the astrologers, and wherever the patients are interested to explore alternative methods, they should give them a solution, quick solution for all these things. They should work with this. Say, for example, the Venus phase has started and you didn't improve. The situation did not improve. Then use pills. Nobody is saying that is bad. Nobody is saying pills is bad. Nobody is saying brain scanning is bad. Nobody is saying psychotherapy doesn't work. I'm not saying that.
Right.
I'm saying there are other methods which act without damaging the body or without damaging the mind, and they should be used. That's what I mean.
Right, and kind of pay homage to the individualization that's needed for psychotherapy too.
Yeah, there is homeopathy. There is Ayurveda, which is called, Indian medical system is called Ayurvedic. There are different kinds of medical systems. Each has its own advantage. Each has its edge. Each has some edge of its own. So they should use all that. That's all I'm saying. I mean, and I have found astrology to be very effective with mental health problems, because it will give hope. It will tell a patient when he will actually get better, right? So that I think is the greatest gift of this science to mankind, if they can use it.